Welcome to the first annual Stubby Awards here on the Love Boat Project. I am your host, Mike Robertson, along with my awards co-host, Mike Taylor.
Ahoy.
Michael, you are dressed to the nines tonight for this black tie affair.
It took me all day to get this look together. So,
Who are you wearing?
white t-shirt.
You got the smarter outfit. Luckily, it is not as hot as it was last time I wore this tuxedo. But when you pay upwards of $11 at a costume store, you're not getting a fabric that breathes.
I do remember towards the end of that episode just to see like the sweat starting to bead. Almost, I think the same thing happened in the Christmas
The
episode. That
Santa
Santa hat was getting
episode,
kind of
yeah,
hot.
yep, yeah. And we had talked about it, and looking ahead to season 2, the way we're doing these every other week, we're basically going to be releasing in a certain time frame around the same time every year, which means I'll be doing that Christmas episode and that some sort of Christmas get up, recording that probably in August or September every year. So
Christmas in July. Yeah, I mean
gonna
August.
maybe gonna get
Maybe.
a big quiet fan for that episode. But we're not talking about season 2. We're here to talk
No.
about season 1, not an episode, all the episodes. The
That's right.
Stubby Awards, named after Phil Silvers as Merrill Stubing Sr., star of episode 9, where he was nicknamed Stubby. And frankly, that's all we needed to create an award show. This will be 16 categories going over the entire season. We have a long list of nominees and great performances and terrible performances that we've seen this season. And we figured what better way to kind of recap this season than to give out some hardware here. So, Mike, any thoughts before we jump into the awards?
I'm just excited to participate. I'm really ready to dig into these awards. So many and just the review of the nominees, because you can't just give a nominee.
Yeah.
It was amazing to look back and see how many people we've met, how many characters we've come across in this first season deep dive. So it was nice. It was a trip down memory lane.
I tried to put myself in the position that we were when we watched these and recorded these, and that was easier than others. It really depended on what it was and what we were talking about. There are definitely some people that I hadn't thought about in a while. There are definitely some people I wish I hadn't thought about in a while. And I think those are reflected in the nominations, but I guess we'll find out here shortly.
You're curiously absent. Episodes 21 and 23. Like
Well,
weird.
there's one
Like
award they might be up for.
wow. Yeah, they might be up
So,
for one.
all right, well, let's get this baby started. We
Let's
have
go.
16 awards. I'm sure this episode will go 5 hours. So let's take a look.
17 hours of awards. Let's do it.
All right, our first category, Best Kid. Now, kid is tough, but in the interest of expanding the field a lot, we basically defined this award for as male, female performance by anyone referenced as college student or younger. So there may have been people that were college age, but if they weren't referenced as a college student, they probably weren't on here. But that's for the judges to decide. So how we're going to do this, just so you know, dear listener, is we're going to read off our lists 5 to 1, and some categories are 3 to 1. I think there's a couple categories where there's 1 to 1, but and then we're just going to go back and forth, kind of see what we have, and at the end, if we both have the same number 1, well, there's your winner, and if we don't, then we're going to have a little bit of a conversation and come to a conclusion. And to make it even a little more exciting, each of your fair hosts, has one challenge. And so if we're having a debate over one of the categories, you can throw your challenge and basically you get to pick that winner. No dispute.
Yeah, we
So
don't want
each of
any
us
heated
will
moments.
exactly. Each of us can absolutely guarantee one winner of our choosing at the very least.
I
So
like that. That makes me feel good going in.
yeah. Put a little sporting event into it too.
Yeah.
Right? You got to strategize. You don't want to do this like, I don't know, if you were somebody in a fantasy football league that had waiver money that you would spend it in like week 4. You want to hang on to it, make sure you have it when you need it.
You only live once, right?
Uh,
Woo,
let's wait,
YOLO.
let's wait till I get Barry Keys all the awards. All right. So best kid. And like I said, this ended up A little harder than I thought. Obviously, it's a limited category.
Yeah, only 3
Um,
nominees.
how many do you have for this one? 3 or 5?
3? 3.
Okay. So, starting with number 3, and this was tough
Mhm.
because there was a real break at the 3-4 line, but I'm giving it to someone we saw in our very final episode of the season, going with Eve Plum as Vanessa Summerhill in episode 24.
Okay.
That's my number 3.
Interesting. Wow. So my number 3, we go back to the Christmas episode. My number 3 is Tony the Orphan from
Yep,
episode
that was my
11.
number 4. That was my number 4. That was how close it was.
There
So
we
yeah,
go.
Tony really just, I
You
mean,
can't
absolute hero,
he's the
absolute hero.
disappointment in his eyes because
Yeah,
Captain Stubing couldn't count to 6?
6.
Yeah,
Wearing his little blazer too. Yeah,
terrible. He's so
and you know
proud of
what's so
himself.
funny?
Mm,
Tony, you know his real name? Tiger.
Tiger.
The kid's name is Tiger.
That's
I
pretty
have
cool.
Tiger Williams, which doesn't feel right because that's a hockey player, but
You know what? That's better than a Christmas gift for Tony the Orphan.
yep.
Tiger's got an awesome name. Cheers,
All right,
Tiger.
my number 2 in the kid
Yep,
category, going with, and this was tough. 2 and 1, I'm telling you right now, was a coin flip for me. So number 2, I went with James Bond III. And that was as Teddy Dennison in episode
interesting.
8.
Okay, okay. My number 2, I went with Nancy Brown from
Oh,
episode 12. The,
the
so
stowaway.
the stowaway, and she met that, George who lives in Tijuana down there, what Montezlon or whatever it
No,
was. Yeah,
Randy.
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 Yeah, I
Yeah,
just thought she did a great job.
you didn't care for Randy if I remember
No,
correctly.
Randy was made up. He was
Yeah,
terrible. He had a van.
yeah. Randy was a
Yeah,
good
who
guy.
could forget? She was Tiny Ribbons, right? Flat
All right.
ribbons,
Well, I feel like I know where you're going with number 1 because I feel like we may have had a difference in age thoughts. My
perhaps.
number 1, I'm sneaking in under the college rule here. Robert Hedges as Danny the Virgin in episode 6.
I mean, he was like a college student. I'll give you that. I can't argue with this performance. If
Oh, you were anti him too. I forgot. You were
no, no, no.
jealous.
I
You were
wasn't
jealous of
anti
his
him. I
hair.
just, I was like, hey guys, leave him alone.
Yeah.
Come on, fellas, that's not funny. That kind of thing. Yeah, because this was the Jimmy episode where I was like,
Sure.
I guess they didn't get together, and you were like,
Right. Yeah.
what? Did you watch the same episode?
Yeah, that was in
Yes.
the that that may have been one of the first of what turned out to be a real season-long story arc of, your girldomness.
Girl
So,
dumb. My my number 1 is Theodore Dennison,
yeah.
episode 7, James Bond the Third. And I think you will agree, like, if this was the coaches poll for, NCAA football, he would have some first place votes, amongst, whatever they poll college coaches. He was so good in that episode.
Yeah.
But if we're counting Danny, I didn't count him because he looked older than a college student to me. Like, it just
Like
didn't
I said,
equate.
I had Theo a close second, so I am 100% okay with giving it to him. I think, and to be fair,
Yeah.
if we had more kids,
Mhm.
I think the category would have lent itself more to that. We had to add the college thing because it really would have been the
It was a
orphans.
disadvantage. Yeah, you
It
might as
just
well
would have been
call it
the
the
orphans
Theodore
and the
yeah, the
runaways.
Theodore
Yeah.
Dennison Award.
Like, we didn't
Yeah.
have any there were no
Well
kids brought on this boat by a parent this season, right?
no, you had, good lord, what's his Scott Baio? Remember that whole
Oh, right.
thing?
But they were
And Chris
terrible. They were very
Nichols?
disappointing.
They were terrible.
That was very disappointing. I
They
would
were
love to have
terrible.
nominated Christy McNichol, but she was not good.
They all had Julie's haircut. Everybody.
That was
And
tis the
Posse.
season.
They should have had haircut of the season. That would be a great award. But I
Next year.
will say, I think that although Dennison, I'm with you, I didn't even think about the Danny role. I mean, he
No, it's
had
okay. This was the toughest one because of the parameters on it. So
yeah, yeah.
I'm happy to give it to Theo, to Teddy
Fair enough,
Dennison.
fair enough.
And he is congratulations, James Bond III, star of stage and screen. You are our first ever Stubby winner.
And now live via satellite,
Can you imagine if we
James
would
Bond
just
the
like,
Third. Every
what
winter.
if we had
Oh, it'd
been
be
like,
great.
let's buy a bunch of cameos and not tell these people why we're having them on.
And leave him on for the whole episode. So we have like 16 people talking at once. Like, why are we what?
Well,
Can't
I'm
hang
pretty
up.
sure a couple of our award winners can't join us tonight.
No,
So
no. Maybe it's some family members. I am fortunate uh, that I get to present, or well, I'm so excited about this award. I'm sorry. This is the most exciting award to me all night right here. And it's best old. And best old, let me give you the parameters there. Male or female performance by anyone referenced as a senior citizen. So I'm going to give you my number 5.
okay.
We're going to start with Franklin Bootherstone at number 5.
Oh wow, number 5 for the booth.
Mm,
Poor Will Gear, the late
yeah,
Will Gear.
late Will Gear.
For my number 5, this was a very hard category. This was much harder than
Was
the kids for
it?
sure.
Yeah,
So
but was for me, it wasn't the one; it was the 4 others where I had to sort of figure out, well, what makes a good. You know what I mean?
gotcha. You're not gonna like my number 5. That's right.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare! Oh no!
That's right. It's Ray Bolger
Oh God!
as Herman McDonald in episode 7, The Jinx. He was fantastic. Put a little vodka in that orange juice for the taste. Pour one out. Ray Bolger. Ray Bolger being Ray Bolger. Always great. He was fantastic.
Number
I don't
4.
expect you to have him on
I
the
got
list.
nothing. Number 4. I think you're going to be a little surprised by this one. I went with Mo. Price is Ice is Nice Price
Wow.
from episode 23. Maury Amsterdam, played by Maury Amsterdam. Yeah, that's who I went with. Mo Price.
I was not expecting. We have very different lists. This is going to
He
be
made me laugh. He was funny. I enjoyed Mo Price.
number 4 for me.
Yeah,
Scatman Crothers as Virgil Gibson. That was in episode 16. That was, as we talked about, a weird subject matter for the Love Boat, and I don't think it would have been even airable with anyone else, but his charm just really carried the day. He was fantastic. Basically just playing Scatman Crothers with a little bit of Amin Brewster in him, but he was really good in that one.
I can't argue with it. I will say that nothing in that episode made my list because it was such an awkward episode.
I don't have
Um,
much. I don't have much
but
from 16. So,
yeah, no. I'm kind of afraid to talk about 16. Uh, Number 3 for me, we're gonna go Cyril Wolf, episode 4.
really?
Yeah, yeah. Overall, he was annoying, but I mean, he's like the biggest star to ever be on the show. He didn't need this. So to me, him being on there, number 1 was a big deal, and number
Gotcha.
2, was he a jerk? Yeah, but it's Milton Berle.
I mean, here's the thing: being
Yeah.
a jerk, that does not impact you winning
No,
this
no,
for
no.
sure. It's
Yeah,
not.
it is
There
a
are
performance.
exactly there are categories that will address your being awful, but this is not one of them.
Absolutely. This
So yeah,
yeah. This was just performance-wise. I thought, maybe he wasn't the young Milton Berle, but it's still Milton Berle.
we are. By the way, we have listed 5 names, and none of them have been the same so far.
This is
I don't have.
fantastic.
Yeah, I don't have
This is
any of
great.
the 3 you've mentioned on my list. So this will be great.
Okay.
Number 3,
Yes.
the man these awards are named for, Phil Silvers as Stubby himself, the
Yes.
captain's captain. Only performance, but I mean, you couldn't have picked a better guy to come in. He really was the first of what turned out to be a pretty long run of meta characters that
Yeah.
were just basically saying things that we have been saying. And then, like I said, established the awards, seemingly ended the captain's dinner. Like
Pretty much, yeah.
he did a
Because he
lot of
sat in the
stuff.
end.
Yeah. Yeah. So Phil Silvers
No,
for me is number 3.
no argument from me there. Obviously, you know how I feel about old Stubby. Number 2, I guarantee this is going to surprise you. Number 2 is Grandma Warner from episode 6.
She was in my nomination or my
She was great.
honorable mentions. Yeah, she is great. Ruth
There
Gordon
were,
is so good. It hurt me to not
she's
put her
great.
on there. The scene I always remember is when she tried to throw herself off the side of the boat because Patty Duke was dating a school teacher
That's
basically,
right.
and it was
That's right. There she goes.
that was a storyline. Looking back, that was an episode that had no right being as good as it actually ended up being.
It
Barry
was
Key, we made so
accidentally
much
great.
about Barry Keys that
Yeah.
episode that it was like, but they did a lot of work with not a lot there, especially that story.
It was just unintentionally just hilarious. I
Yeah.
don't think they knew quite how entertaining it was. That
No.
was a funny episode.
I did find as we were doing these
Yeah.
that I think we kind of knew that the front half was better than the back half of this season,
Oh, they should have
but
redistributed the quality a bit.
you
But
can kind of feel it when you're going through some of these, and it's like the ones that we thought, oh, this wasn't that great, and then looking back, it was like better than 90% of the second half of the
yeah,
season. So
I ran into that a couple times where I was like, oh wow, I don't mind this.
no,
This is
like
this
a
is nice.
comfortable
Very
shoe.
comfy. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, number 2 for me
Yes.
is Will Gear, as Franklin Bootherston.
Interesting.
Again, I give him a lot of. We said it at the time. I give him a lot of credit. He did a lot of work in that episode,
Yes, he did.
um, which was it was a weird episode. That's the Julie Priest episode. There's just a lot happening there. He was really good. We talked about it at the time. He passed away just a couple months later,
Yeah.
and a nugget that I've been holding on to for months. Will Gear has the only acting Emmy nomination in the history of The Love Boat for guest performance. And yes,
For this episode?
this was the only one he was on. He
Oh,
died,
that's
and I
right.
wonder how much of it
Oh,
was like a posthumous, like kind of thing. But
hmm,
that is the only. I think they ended up getting nominated for like a couple, like cinematography or staging or
interesting.
something. But the actual only acting award nomination they ever got was Will Gear for being Bootherston. So
R.I.P. W.G.
R.I.P. But he didn't make number one on either of our lists. So
No. Um, it's time for number 1. For me, my number
we're both.
1.
Let me say this before we do it, just to build the drama.
Yeah.
My number one hasn't been mentioned yet. So maybe yours. I don't know. We could both have the same number one. Maybe not.
Stubby himself, Meryl Stubing Sr.
All right, there we go.
I mean,
Okay, yeah. It's going to be hard for me to argue this. So my number one,
I can't wait. All right.
I'm happy. Pearl Bailey as Millie Washington.
It
Isaac's
was the
mom.
age thing for me. That's the
It was
thing with
tight.
me
Again,
is
it
I
was
didn't
tight. And
know.
and the only reason I counted her was that scene where her and Stubing and the dentist are having coffee talking about the kids and everything. But I
Yeah.
totally understand that, and much like the first award, I am totally fine with giving it to Stubby. I feel like, he was obviously a lot older than
Sure,
Millie
sure.
Washington. I just want, since we're gonna give it to Stubby, which is good, but Pearl Bailey was great. I did want to correct something that I noticed in a couple of our episodes.
What's that?
We've credited Pearl Bailey with the first physical violence on the show, and that is still correct.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had referenced a couple weeks ago when Kevin was on that Doc got punched.
That's
That
right.
was
By
2.
the chauvinist.
Right. Forgot that Waldo, head of office of the beauty pageant, got hit in the face when he tried to creep on Terry from Three's Company.
That's right.
And there was a fourth one that I knew yesterday and didn't write down and cannot remember, but I believe there is a fourth one. It was a
Wow.
slap. So we had four violence. So I just wanted to apologize for that misinformation.
Was it Stubing? Laying it on Stacy Stubing? Was that, or was it her, Mr. Skog's dog? Was that him?
No,
Like,
I don't think
go
there
to
was
your
a
room.
If there had
No,
been a
I don't think
slap in
so
the
either.
first episode, that would have been something else.
It would have, yeah, in the
Yeah,
70s.
it must have been like
You can't
Doc or
do that.
somebody getting slapped. Like it must have been something like that. But it was
I don't
in that
remember who it
middle.
was, but yeah.
Yeah, it was in that range of like the late teens episodes, which were not that distinguishable. I think
No,
it's in
they all
there. But
sort of
anyway,
blend together. Yeah.
but the first one was Pearl Bailey.
Right
Great
on.
effort by her. But category 2 goes to our good friend Phil Silvers. A Stubby for Stubby.
Stubby for Stubby.
All right. Our third category, and this is a short one. Best
Sure.
animal.
It's one of two, right?
I gave a nomination to Herb, Julie's cat. But
Ah,
there's really only
you
two
said
on
any on-screen animal.
there's only two on
Only two.
well, if you
For
don't count
which
the
one?
puppies, which I didn't either. But basically we only got two animals that had plots this year. It was the dog of questionable
Oh,
gender
questionable gender dog.
that entrapped Radar in his room for a month, and then had puppies, and of course Lucille the chimpanzee. I don't think this is even close. I
No,
voted for Lucille.
of course. Of
Yeah.
course. I did too.
So
How can you not?
yeah, and like we said it during the episode for what it was, which was a late '70s comedy monkey episode.
Love it.
Very reserved. They didn't go crazy with it. They didn't go
No.
overboard with
Like
it.
the monkey, there was very, like not a lot of raspberries.
Right.
There wasn't too
The one,
much. Nobody was
I mean,
saying,
that
"Hey, what are
that
you monkeying around?" Like none of that.
that fantastic scene where Doc just goes in and takes the purse off and gives it to the mom, and just really, really good. I will be so what? Okay, over under
Hmm. Animals?
on animals next year, comma animals in the portal. So over under,
Ooh.
let's say 2.5
All right.
over under since we had two this year, right? So I'm just saying like animals that are eligible to be nominated, basically in a plot, right?
Well, think about it. How many animals really at this time were famous enough to be in a portal? The only
I
one
mean,
I
in the
can
late
think of is Benji.
70s, Benji, uh,
Ricky, the
Rin,
Yorkshire
Rin,
Terrier, Maurice,
Rintintin
J-
9, Mr. Ed. I
Heathcliff.
guess you're right. Yeah, I guess you're right. Are there not? Is the bear BJ and the bear? Is that bear still around or BJ? I'm not sure
It's
which is
just
which.
they just use they're all this. It's I don't know.
Now that's disappointing. So you don't. Yeah, maybe we're not going to get a
I don't.
animal in the portal.
I think you'll get an animal. I don't know. Maybe a blind lady with a dog. Maybe I could see that.
But is
But
that
they
going to
just
be an
did a
actual?
blind lady, so I don't.
Yeah. You
I
know what I
don't
wanted
know.
to talk? This has nothing to do with animals, but since
Yeah,
we're talking about stuff that we didn't get,
sure.
do you think it's weird? Like I said earlier, we haven't had a kid come with their parents yet. Do you think it's weird that we went a whole season and we didn't get two couples going on the cruise together? That seems like, for example, in our younger days, we would
Hmm.
never have gone on cruises. But if we were ever going on a cruise, it wouldn't
Be
have
a
been
bunch of
weird
us.
if us
Yeah.
and our wives would have gone, right? Like that
Hmm.
wouldn't have been insane.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have done it. But like we
Well,
would
it's just like if we all went
vacation.
to Vegas or we went somewhere, it's like
Right.
destination things usually go with people because
Is
you
it
hang
weird
out
that
with your spouse every day,
right. Like they didn't
which
have
is wonderful.
one
It's just every day. Yeah.
every this is airing like right around Mother's Day.
It's gonna be
Just so
great.
it's-
Oh,
I just thought that was odd. Something to think about for next season. Just it seems like again another easy one,
well, because you
but
always had like packs of guys or you had packs of girls
or one person, which is just makes
or
less and
like
less sense to me.
parents and a child,
Yeah.
right? We've had
Oh, right. The only parents that brought their kid was Monty Hall.
yeah,
He brought his 28-year-old son.
so weird. I never want you to grow up, Monty Jr. Come on.
Oh God. No more game show hosts.
No, no, please, please.
We're not getting Wink Martindale. We're definitely getting Bert. We're definitely getting Bert Convey. Bob Barker,
Oh,
maybe.
he's not slumming. Bob Barker's
Bob
a CBS
Eubanks.
man. Mm, no, I think he's too big.
Peter Tamarkin.
He's going to be on there 4 times. Him and the guy that wasn't Tom Hanks on Bosom Buddies. He's going to be on here a lot too.
Peter Scolari?
A lot of Peter Scolari. I can
Hey,
just sense it.
no, there will be no Peter Scolari besmirching on this program.
It's fine. Was he Bosom or was he Buddies? I don't know.
He was also great on Newhart. So before you
Oh, he
start
was great
popping
on
off,
Newhart
yeah,
with Julia, whatever. I love that
Julia
show.
Duffy, yeah, we've had one Newhart already. So
Yeah,
and we're definitely never getting Bob Newhart. That's like
I love
beneath
Bob Newhart.
him.
Oh, he wouldn't.
No,
He's the best. He's so dry and wonderful.
like at this time, I think we've kind of gone with the thought that like we're never getting Burt Reynolds. He's too big.
Never. Yeah.
Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett probably too big.
Yeah.
And we're not really at the people in the 80s yet. So
Although I wonder the whole package deal appeal. Remember before we had like husband and wife, Jacqueline
yeah,
Smith and her husband.
yeah,
I wonder if that's a draw for a couple like that.
that's the only chance.
You know, that's the only thing I'm thinking that might be a draw, or if they have something to promote, or I don't know.
Right. And it's like we forget, like, but like season 7 is like 1984 or something. Like times
Yeah.
might be tough for some of these people, you know.
Maybe
so.
then they're coming on there. You know,
Right.
they didn't have the time for the Love Boat in 1978, but
No,
84, they're like, oh hey,
you think we'll get Dom DeLuise?
oh, I hope so. I'm a huge. I just listened
That'd be
to a.
great. He'd be great on this.
He's great on anything. I just listened. It's
Yeah.
so funny you say that. I just listened to a radio interview with him from like 20 years ago the other day, and he was just always on, just
Yeah.
fantastic. You know that Don Rickles energy of always.
Yeah.
It was that same thing. It was just
Yeah.
great.
That would be
Speaking
fun.
of energy, see that one?
Yeah.
Woo!
Smooth segue.
We're moving on to the next award. The award is for Best Musical Performance. This is a 5 nominee award. Any performer singing or instrumental. I love that you put instrumental in there because I know what
Hey,
that. Hey, music's music. Woo! You
listen,
know.
and I wrote all these categories descriptions
Hmm.
before I actually did them, and I'll tell you, spoiler, I needed that clarification in this
I
description.
I
So
understand. I understand. So number 5. We're gonna go with Glenda Fairbanks singing "I'll Be Seeing You" over
excellent,
pina coladas on a sunny afternoon on a cruise ship.
excellent, excellent.
Episode 21.
I didn't think of her. It must have been too close. I was too close to it. That is excellent. Oh, that's so good. Hey, you remember this one?
In the
For my
middle of the
number 5,
afternoon. Awful. Yeah.
this is a deep cut. This is a very deep cut, and it's from an episode I know you don't like. The Pacific Princess crew as the wedding band when Horace McDonald renewed his vows, and they sang a real song and then they sang a jazzy song
Yeah.
in episode 7.
I completely erased that from my memory until you just said that.
You remember, that's like Julie's got her eye patch and
It was
Isaac's
just
got his neck brace.
everything was crazy. That episode was just
Episode
off the
7 is
rails.
still the most bonkers episode. That episode
I
makes
don't know
no
what they
sense.
were thinking there. I really don't. Uh, number 4 for me, Loretta Swit with her contractually obligated singing on on episode 3.
I forgot she sang in that.
Oh, everything. She's always singing. Her and Carol,
Oh, Florence
Brady.
Henderson.
Yeah, it's always
Yeah,
like in the thing. Yeah, it's a thing.
I forgot about that. My number 4, let's go with a little Paul Burke. There's Brian Sherwood singing "You and I" and coughing a lung out and almost dying as his daughter ran away. So,
That is my number 3. That is my number 3. Yeah, Brian Sherwood singing "You
it's
and
the
I."
only time. It's the only time all season we saw somebody like request something from the band, and then the fact that it's an empty hall to your point, when we watched it, the band knew this depressing song that no one is ever going to request
No,
a
no,
cruise liner band to play. Like, could you play the Battle Hymn of the Republic, please? Like,
absolutely. That's
oh
funny.
god,
So that's my
yeah,
3. What's your 3?
excellent. My 3 is Marie McCormick as Susie Corbett playing the piano in the Miss Pacific Princess contest. Instrument solo so good that she won the contest, only to have it ripped away by her awful boyfriend.
Piece of garbage guy. My number 2, a bit of a surprise, is Ted Wilcox. This is the fake amnesia song that matched the jingle he wrote before he faked amnesia, episode 19. It was.
Oh, that was
That's the
so
exact
good.
song.
Ooh.
Uh, just there must have been a different ring. It's exactly the same. Just
the the guts it took, the restraint it took for Ricky Nelson not to sing on that episode,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, he was just there to act, but also play guitar. Like, so
Instrumental. That's why I was
yeah,
glad that was in there. But
he
yeah,
was putting he was putting the he was putting the electric down.
and he was a big
Uh,
star too. That is surprising they didn't like.
yeah, you would just think, because we didn't really get a lot of legitimate male singing here. Like,
No, no,
so
no, not at all.
For me, number 2, that'd be Charo as April Lopez. That was our first kind of we had him in back-to-back weeks actually, but that was our first, like, here is a musical number. Like, here is an
Yeah,
actual, like, 1 to 2 minutes of a network TV show.
it made
Um
sense.
yeah, and it was like a real song. I remember you were very impressed by the guitar guy. Like, it was like a real song.
Yeah, yeah,
And it had a beginning, middle, and end, which was
yeah.
not always the case for some of these other songs we saw.
Well, spoiler alert. That's my number 1 pick. I went with April Lopez, aka Captain Stubing's personal discovery from episode 4.
Yeah, very good.
Absolutely, because it was like a real performance.
Yeah. I'm surprised that my number 1 did not make your list.
I might have
It it was
missed the radar.
it was Diane Carroll, it was Roxy Blue, and her devastating takedown of Isaac Washington. Absolute spite solo at the end of episode 5.
We will. We're going to talk about her in a little bit, and Isaac in that episode specifically. So I don't disagree. And she was legit. We looked it up. Remember, we talked about that. How like Diane Carroll,
Yeah.
she won Emmy winner and had albums out. So all right, so that was best
Do we
musical
oh,
performance,
so what do we wanna
best villain.
well, hold on, we didn't award this thing yet.
Oh,
Who uh, are we giving it to
well,
Charo, or are we giving it to Diane Carroll?
I'm
Do
going to
we have a
give it to Diane
disagreement?
Carroll.
Okay. Just wanna make sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I had to use my card.
No, 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 no. I get
I'd
that.
also like to call out the other 3 musical performances I had listed
Who's
as
that?
honorable mention. Was Florence Henderson when she was singing Silent Night right before what's his name was going to toss Walter Perry off the boat.
Ugh,
Mitzi and Lenny, there was a piano in there,
I love Mitzi and Lenny. Yeah.
and Scatman Crothers singing Campdown Races.
Oh yeah. Again, I can't talk about that episode. I just blocked that out.
All right,
I thought about it.
this is a great category. Best villain. Now, this is basically a male female performance what that the person was intended
Yeah.
to be a villain.
Yeah.
We have created our own villains throughout this season. There is a bit of a category for them later,
Sure.
but this is for the actual intended villainry,
Yes.
and who was the best at this.
Yes.
And I will say this: a lengthy list, considering it's the Love Boat.
It's
I was able to get some pretty long
well,
nomination list here.
well, they had a lot of these. This was an easy character to have on every episode. It
Yeah,
was almost a necessity.
yeah.
In one of
And
the
again,
stories, you had to have one.
this was like actual villains, let alone the ones that we feel are villains that weren't
Like
real villains. Yeah.
scripted villains.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, number 5, and this was another late entry, I'm going with Jack Carter as Ray Foster in episode 23, this schmuck was the guy who was a jerk to his wife, a jerk to his ex prostitute,
Oh, I didn't even
and
think
then
about him.
got no comeuppance, which frankly I did wait into these rankings for a lot of the stuff is the lack of comeuppance for villains.
Not
Very,
all.
very, very indiscriminate and a little sexist. So, but we'll get into that. So that's my number 5, Ray Foster.
Speaking of that, how some villains kind of got away. Maybe a male villain did, and a female villain didn't. I give you my number 5 pick, and that's Yvonne Boulanger,
Oh,
the
very
fake
nice.
French gold digger from episode 19.
Yeah,
She got her comeuppance when Jamie Farr and everyone,
yeah.
Jamie Farr's friend.
She
No,
she did.
yeah,
Yeah, she underrated. I don't think I appreciated it as much when we were doing it, but like she was a really good villain,
she was a good villain.
and I didn't have it on my best moments list, but it's in like the mix.
Yeah.
That part where she throws the wine on Gopher from
Oh,
above
yeah.
is one of the best moments of the season. Like just absolutely hysterical. And like I said, she was dressed like Han Solo for half the episodes.
She
That was really good.
really was.
And unnecessary villain. Like there was
Yeah,
no reason for her to be a villain. She just
I
was.
agree.
Like so. Number 4, our good friend Frankie Avalon. Now I am counting him as a villain
That's funny
because
that you're counting him as a villain.
I'm counting him as a villain. I know it was on the border, but he admitted it at the end, all the things he did, like a supervillain does. But Frankie Avalon basically scammed the Princess Line into letting him bring his dumb computer on there, scammed this computer system to get Julie, almost had to fight everyone on the boat because his stupid computer didn't work, pissed off the captain, made him sad, wore
All the
those
wrong
weird
matches. Everything
wore
was
those weird
wrong.
shirts. Yeah. So
That thing didn't work.
and all from a 37-year-old Frankie Avalon.
My number 4, I'm going with Vernon Crowler from Plan B, episode 15. The
Nice.
man who look just like Captain Steubing, but cannot talk like Captain Steubing nor wear a hat because he respects military. Like, I don't wear my headgear indoors. I would go with him. Intentional bad character. He was a villain.
I I ended up lumping the Caper Crew in, and they just missed. I think I had him at like 6, basically. I love Harold Gould. He's one of my favorite actors from that period. I think I was just bummed out that he wasn't just a little better. That Caper thing was like ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that whole group was perfect villainry, right? It was
Well, Larry
just
Storch.
well,
I
I
mean,
know
it
what a
was
big
a
storch
who's
an
who.
ox. You're a big ox guy. Yeah, it's
It was great.
hashtag ox was right.
That's right.
My number 3, we're going all the way back to the beginning. Bonnie Franklin
Oh,
as Susie Steubing Skarsgård. Um, I mean, she came in with that accent
she came in.
and was just awful. And I mean, that was straight up villain. She was using her old husband to try and crush Steubing.
She wasn't even trying to be
Um,
nice. Yeah, she was
no,
just
and even when the
straight villain.
comeuppance, and she got comeuppance because she was a
Yeah,
woman, of course.
of course.
Um, and still didn't. That episode did not necessarily resolve on a happy ending, right?
Well, no,
And
because
I'll be
now she's just mad because her present husband took the side. Like,
right.
it's just going to make her more powerful.
And I'll be curious
Yeah,
whenever the daughter shows up, assuming.
yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know whose daughter
Adopted.
that's going to be.
They're going to do like a
No idea. But
Arnold
I
Drummond
wonder if
type
there'll be
thing.
any more. I wonder if there'll be any more references to Stacy. But she was great. We really liked episode 1. You know,
Yeah.
I think we forget because then everything just got so twisted for a while. But that was a really good way to get where they wanted to get in terms of Steubing being defending his crew, and then they ignored it for months. But
Yeah, they immediately put that aside.
yep. Number 2.
Oh, number 2 for me. Oh, I'm going with Mike Andrews.
Oh,
I'll see
good one.
you sometime. Episode 18,
Cold as ice.
Cold as Ice, Mike Andrews.
He was cold.
He's like, yeah, it's cool. When will we see each other? Never. Oh,
Yep.
okay, cool. Mike Andrews,
He was
intentionally
he
bad
was
villain.
he was a good villain.
Yeah,
And just didn't care. Like, did
he
not care. And again,
no,
no comeuppance. Sorry.
no,
No
no. He's
comeuppance.
off the ship. He actually just boarded another cruise ship. He's just going ship to ship. Scumbag
My
Mike Andrews.
my number 2 and number
Yeah,
1 was a coin flip, and it does come down to the female got comeuppance, the male
really.
did not.
Okay.
So my number 2 is Joanne Harris as Connie Evans, the would-be cruise director who tried to take Julie's
Oh,
job.
nice
Um,
one.
she's I mean, she was excellent. She ended up she's in a couple of these for me.
She was
Um,
good.
she was great. Just absolute, like, straight up to your face, and really took Julie down. But she got comeuppance at the end.
Of course, because she's a
Um,
woman.
exactly. And my number 1 did not. So that's why she's number 2. But could have been number 1 in a more
Hmm.
fair world.
Well, now I'm wondering. You haven't said my number one.
There's no way we don't have the same number 1.
All right, my number one is from episode 22.
We do not
Kurt
have the same number 1. Okay.
Kurt Stansel, aka the
Oh.
finest animal I've ever owned. I mean, it was pretty egregious
Yeah.
to
No.
me.
Oh, he's a bad dude.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta know who did you pick?
Buddy Stanfield.
Buddy Stanfield.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm just
You
surprised.
don't think he's a villain?
No, he is a villain. I'm just surprised you picked him as your number one villain.
I think he was, well, again, Kurt got comeuppance.
Yeah.
He got thrown out and dumped and humiliated. Now it worked out for him in the end. Buddy Stanfield, first of all, pre this episode, is cheating on his wife with Julie,
Right.
leads Julie along, makes her move to Los Angeles, makes her quit being a stewardess, all that. Goes up here to take a boat to a business meeting, tricks Julie into getting back together, fake proposes to her. All the while, he's married again.
Yeah, I
And his
can't
wife
argue with
shows
it.
up, and he doesn't get any on-screen comeuppance at all. So, and if you look at the arc, he might have broke Julie for the rest of the season. Either that or the cork in the eye, but it was around the same time. So.
I really wish that I could counterpoint you on your number one pick, but I can't.
Yeah,
He's
I
so
feel
much
like
more of a villain than Kurt Stansel's just an a-hole.
Yeah, I mean,
He's
no,
not necessarily a villain.
Every villain named is a good villain, but
Yeah,
to
but
me,
number one is number one.
yeah. So if
Interesting.
you don't have a problem with that, I'm gonna suggest we go Buddy Stanfield on that one.
I concur. I concur. Next award is for Best Returning Guest. This is a 3-nominee award. The rules here: male, female that was a guest on multiple episodes this season.
Which we thought was weird, right?
Yes.
We were surprised that they felt the need to do that in the first season of a show, but there ended up being, I think, like 7 or 8 people that were
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
So,
Let me give you my number 3. My number 3 is Robert Urich. Episode 10, episode 21. He didn't give us a lot in episode 10, but it's Robert Urich. So
I knew you
I'm
were
obligated to vote for him.
Yeah.
But I
knew you were
couldn't
going
give him higher than 3.
I want to give special mention to an honorable nominee who I would not have known if you hadn't brought it up was Craig Littler, who played Gary Bananas Foster.
That's right, Gary.
After being in episode 2. But my actual number 3, Marie McCormick, who played a horn dog in episode 6 and played a would-be beauty pageant with an awful boyfriend in episode 16. And like you said, they really stretched her acting chops by giving her a different haircut. So
I agree. Yeah, we'll just take a couple inches off and then completely different character. My number two. Now, my number two is Michelle Lee, and let me explain.
okay,
Because I think the easy thing to do on this list would be to go, okay, well, she's been in 3 episodes, therefore she. But I don't think that's a fair assessment of best. So I put her at number 2. She was in episode 5, episode 15, the two-parter, and episode 23. I thought she was great. I thought she was great in everything that she did. Was she my
yeah,
favorite? I think she was the best. No, but I mean, it's a silver medal.
I I I can't disagree with that logic. Now, spoiler, I'll go out of order. I had her as number 1,
Hmm.
but I will say this: I agree in that I think her episodes were diminishing each time. I think her
Yeah,
best role was the first one, and subsequently were not as good. So I gave her number 1 mainly for me was a lack of options for another one. But from anyway, my number 2 is Diana Canova, who played the twins,
I can't argue with
and then
that either.
came back and played Ellen again, which was funny. But I
Yeah,
thought she was really good,
she
and
was great.
the twins were different enough, to fool Doc. But
It's a great
but
episode. It's a
but
great.
anyway,
Doc didn't care if he was being fooled. It doesn't matter
nope,
to him.
yeah, crazy like a
Um,
fox. So who's your number
my
1?
my number one has not been mentioned yet.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
curious.
going with Pat Morita as Vincent the Painter, episode 12, and one of the best things about episode 25 was Mr. Yamashiro. Big fan of Pat Morita.
I thought he was such a waste in 24. That was the only thing that got me. It was like
Was
he was
24?
still
Sorry, not
good.
25. Yeah,
He was still good, but um, yeah, we're
I didn't
way
think about
apart
the
on this one.
twins. I didn't think about the twins.
I'm
I,
fine with
I,
whatever
I
we
say
decide
this.
here.
I say you had Michelle Lee first.
I had her first.
I had her second. Split the difference.
Just call it.
I can
All
go
right.
with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's a bad one, right? It's just
No, no, I mean, it's a big award.
that's
We
what
got
we
to get
have
it
to do
right.
here. It's
Yeah,
called compromise. So,
I'm sure their
all right.
Wikipedia pages are being updated as we speak.
Oh, I cannot wait until next season when I get to refer to these people as, multiple Stubby winner, maybe Stubby nominee.
Well, how does it work? What's that word if you win like an
Oh, like the
Oscar, a
EGOT,
Grammy? Yeah, could this be the EGOT? You're just going to throw
EGOTs
an S on the back of it?
or the EGOT, the STIGOT.
Emmy, the STIGOT,
Yeah, Stubby,
Stubby,
Emmy, Grammy,
Emmy,
Oscar,
Grammy.
Tony. Yeah,
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 STIGOT.
STIGOT. I don't know that anybody. If Whoopi Goldberg ends up on here, she's got one.
Diane
Elton
Carroll.
John.
Diane Carroll wins. She's got
I
an
don't think
Oscar.
she's
She's got a
gonna.
Tony.
Oh, there you go. Angela Lansbury, I think.
She could be the STIGOT. We'll see.
We should call. Congratulations.
Who is this? How'd you get my?
All right. Right. This is a fun one.
This is great.
Best horn dog. 3 nominees. I mean, you know what this is. This is
Wait,
basically the male or female that was just ready to go from Jump Street, on a series that was inconsistent. I would say sometimes it was
yeah.
very very horned up, sometimes it wasn't, but it was very easy to find candidates for this one. So my number 3, it might surprise you, Congressman John Wickham, number 3 from episode 16. This guy cheated on his wife with a stripper, got busted in Congress for it, went on a boat to get away from it, and hit on Vicki Lawrence about 3 seconds in. So Wickham was ready.
Oh yeah. I also have Dick Van Patten in the 3 spot for me on this for this
Nice.
award. I agree 100%. He wasn't even trying. It just on to the next conquest for old
Yep.
DVP. So
Yeah. Scuttlebutt knew.
Scuttlebutt,
Scuttlebutt knew.
they
I
knew.
mean, number 2, One of my favorite performances of the whole season.
I know what this is going to be. Yeah.
Mickey O'Day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Excellent. I went with Mickey O'Day. I reference it a lot, but he had the best wave shot of the entire season when he's
I love
standing out
Mickey O'Day.
there waving to somebody, checks out a girl next to him, makes a move, gets shot down, does one of these to whoever he was waving to, shrugs at the camera, almost died for his horniness. And then, after coming back from his cocaine-fueled heart attack in the hallway, on his deathbed, asks Doc to go tell that redhead that he won't be taking the next dance. Like, what a true
He was a character,
player.
man. Yo,
Absolutely.
I think he's still going on cruises to this day.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
keeping him
I wish
going.
if of all the characters we had this
Hmm.
season, Mickey O'Day is a top 3. I wish he would come back. I know he's
Oh,
not, but I wish he would come back.
every season we should get,
Yeah,
honored with an O'Day appearance.
one day, just one O'Day.
I My number 2 is a co-nominee, Ellen and Helen
Mm,
Edwards, the twins.
very nice.
Again, there was a lot of quantity. It's
Yeah.
2, but it was 1. We thought it was 1. I mean, they were just completely out of control. By the end of that
Well,
episode, everything was just
and right, and one of them came onto the boat like that.
right, and the other one converted once Doc laid the smooch
Right.
on her.
Because what was the line? It was, "I came to get a man, you came to get a tan," or something like that, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
they both got a man,
They
same
both
man.
got a man. Neither one of them left with a tan.
Yeah,
So I
poor
went the
Doc.
Canova, the Diana Canova twins.
Feel like my number
Wait. Can I say something first before
Yeah,
we do this?
yeah.
I feel like there's a very high the chances are good that we're gonna have the same answer here. I don't see how we couldn't have the same answer here. I just wanna say that before you say what it is.
We have been more different than I expected, though, so I don't know.
Okay. All right. I just wanna say that I feel like this is a
Okay,
home run on my okay.
okay.
All right.
My number 1 is Carol White as Penny Jacobs. Excellent.
Yes. That is my number 1. That is my number 1. I was like I put it down, I'm like, "Who else could it be?" I mean,
Yeah, there was just nobody else. I mean,
she was
she went on a singles
vocally
cruise and was the
oh,
horniest person on the boat,
she was
like
crazy. Yeah, she was oh, yeah, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close.
yeah, I mean, oh, just epic performance by Penny Jacobs there, just
Shout out Carol White. Jeez.
rolls out. Did you like, seriously, when we when we thought of the Stubbies, I did not expect Carol White to pick one up, but there it is.
No. No,
When we
how could
get to
you
the end of this thing and you're looking at the Love Boat Project Wikipedia, and it'll be like Carol White, Stubby
or
winner,
Stubby winner?
season 1.
Who knew?
Congrats. And
Congratulations, Carol White.
I feel like as we go, this category will get very, very popular and then maybe very unpopular as we careen into the mid 80s. So
That is true. That is true. That's funny.
did you
So this
think
ne
about Doc?
What's that?
Did you think
Did
about Doc at all?
No, I didn't. I for some reason I just kind of put the cast members in a different category.
Yeah.
Like it's
The
not
thing
the
is, I had Doc for the twins thing, so it's the same thing you had.
right. It's the same.
And then I had Bob Seagram as Mike Andrews. So we were very
We're close.
yeah. The only other people I want to shout out for that one are 2/3 of the romance roulette couple. Joanna
Oh,
Kearns and the other one were definitely
oh
in the
yeah,
mix. So
I agree. This next award's a little bit different. This is the best slash worst episode of the season. If I remember correctly, the reigning king of the mountain was it episode 5?
yep. Yep. Episode 5, Roxy Blue, the
Oh
jewel
yeah,
thief, murder.
great
So yeah.
episode.
And you know, we've talked about it. The couple episodes that came closest were non-traditional episodes. The two-parter was really good.
22 was good.
to 22, which was one story basically, was really good. But like, as far as a straight up episode, 3 storylines, 3 directors, 3 writers, nothing. I don't think anything
Nothing
came close
touched it.
this
I
season.
agree.
So do
Now
we? So for next season, right? We start
Yeah.
fresh. Like we just start. Episode 1 will be the best one of the season, and we go from there. Since we're doing the awards, I don't think we knew we were going to have the awards when we started the King of the Mountain. So
Maybe you do it like this, right? So at the end of season 1, this is the King of the Mountain, right?
right.
So that is the reigning King of the Mountain. We forget about that for a minute.
Yep.
We go to season 2, King of the Mountain. End of the season, what's the best episode? What's the worst out of the 2?
Yep.
You have the 2 King of the Mountains right there.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
But the flip side is the worst episode.
Yeah.
And that's...
I think you were right when you said it earlier. It's either 21 or 23, and I think we kind of left it hanging. The problem was we were beaten down because episode 17 had the conversation about being the worst.
Yeah.
Episode 21 had the conversation about being the worst, and then episode 23 did. So 3 out of 6. The thing I remember us talking, so just for clarification, so 21 is Leslie Nielsen taking all the naps,
The Vegas nurse,
and then Monty Hall.
Yeah.
And then 23 was the widows and the ex-hooker.
Oh,
and your guys, the ice people, and Stubing trying to lose weight.
I think that might be the best one. I got to be honest with you. As you're relaying that to me, at least the Vegas nurse was just kind of like a funny story.
Yeah, and we got some good stuff out of the Leslie Nielsen, like the side characters. Bananas Foster was good.
Right.
Glenda was good. Yeah,
but
23. I remember
23
it was boring.
It was
like,
boring.
There was no reason.
It was just it offended like all of my senses.
Yeah,
if that's even possible.
That last 38 minutes of Annette Funicello walking around in the parking lot,
well, plus we're looking at. I remember watching the episode, and I'm like, "What are we still doing here? We've told the story, like we're done."
Yeah, it was terrible.
I would say 23 would.
Yeah,
in my opinion, is the worst episode of the season.
I agree. So what we'll do for next season is we will King of the Mountain. We'll have both best and worst as the running thing to make it a little easier. Hopefully, since it's a 2-parter to start up season 2, we don't have both. But technically, they will be both the best and the worst.
They will. Oh.
Speaking of the worst, I'm going to put my spectacles on for this one. This next category is the worst. This is the male-female performance that was the worst character of the season, regardless of intention. So this is regardless if they were meant to be a villain or a hero. However the writer intended them to portray, how did they come off to us? That is how the worst category is decided.
Can't wait.
Plenty of nominees. Number 5 for me is Danny the Virgin's fraternity buddies from episode 6. These guys came on the boat hot after making a terrible decision to go on a boat for their spring break with a bunch of olds. The 2 guys especially were just continually bothering Danny about being a virgin and apparently just telling everyone on the boat to the point where they were making bets about it. Like they were Shohei Ohtani. And it was just got to the point where Danny had to lie to them and Mike Taylor about not sleeping with Marcia at the end of the episode. So they were an egregious 5th for me.
I got to be honest with you here. When I looked at this worst, I wrote down 2 names. And these 2 people are worth 5 nominees because I can't couple another 3 people with these 2 who are the worst. Nobody's on the level.
So you only have 2?
Yeah.
All right, well, let me go through my
Yeah.
Let me go through my other 2 and we'll catch up.
A little fired up about it because
No, it's fine. All right, so my number 4 then is let's see. My number 4, Barry Keys. Barry Keys is number 4. I think what I was, and let me do my number 3. Number 3, was the Life Begins at 60 group.
Oh, they were the
So my
worst.
reasoning for these guys being not at the top was
Yeah.
basically that they were just picking on Julie. Like it was like their harm was limited. But Barry Keys obviously took advantage of a father-daughter
Oh,
friendship, faked a heart attack to get his terrible act on board,
how is he only a
lied to
4?
Julie.
Listen to the
Okay,
tale of Barry
I'm
Keys.
not
He's
Doug. I'm not Doug. I know you're gonna vote for Barry
yeah,
Keys, so we'll get
yeah.
to it when we get to it. And then the Life Begins at 60 people were just awful. They had no remorse for what they did. They ruined poor Mr. Jim Wright's whole deal. Who brings bagpipes to a cruise? Just absolutely terrible. Um, I think that was the first of many guests that we wanted and wished drown
Yeah.
in
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah,
season.
that's where it
So
began.
yeah, go ahead.
I it's 2 guys, and they're co-number 1s. It's
Yeah,
Barry
just go.
Keys and Ray Bolger. I just want but on top of that, I wanted to say Captain Stubing. I really, really wanted to have him, like, number 1, but I don't
All
think
right.
that's fair. I don't think
I'm
that's fair.
going to allow Barry Keys because you're not wrong. I'm not allowing Ray Bolger, but if you want Barry Keys, he can have the award. I will
I
give
will.
special shout out to before we get into Barry Keys.
Yeah.
Um, Jack Foster as Ray or Jack Carter as Ray Foster.
Mhm.
Again, terrible person. And I want to give a special shout out to Rick. Rick, Marsha's boyfriend, absolute trash. Absolute trash. The only reason I don't really dig in on him is because he is just a kid and he's an idiot.
His
Um,
sulking. Good
older
old
older
Rick
people should
Leonard.
know, but yeah, he literally threw a temper tantrum that cost his girlfriend $5,000.
Yeah.
So way to go. But that said, in the when you look back on season one, we're gonna remember Barry Keys a lot longer than we're gonna remember most of the characters.
I
So I think
agree.
it's
I
fair. I
agree.
think it's fair to say Barry Keys.
Fair enough. Okay.
That was an amazing. Your hatred of Ray Bolger is just insane to me.
Oh, gosh, just drives me crazy.
Barry Keys, I get. I didn't even have Bolger on the list. I had Milton Berle on the list. I had the
I'll take Milton
Baineses.
Berle all day long over Ray Bolger and his overacting.
I had the
Re
Baineses. I had Monty Hall being a creep, and I also had that whole $1 million throwing the money around
Oh, yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. Oof. I forgot about that one, the worst cop ever. The next award, is for best part-time crew member. This is for the male or female performance by any staff member outside of the main 5. I love this award.
it's
I
exciting.
really, really do. Uh, Number 5 for me, is Connie Evans, the, cruise director trainee.
Yep.
She was
I
good.
mean, just I'm a huge fan of that performance. So
She was great.
yeah, and technically an employee until she was fired, but she was an
That's right.
employee for some time. So that no more part time than when you get fired on your
Mhm.
first day of the job. So
That's right.
number 5 for me, going Vince. Vince,
Plumber
who was
poet.
summoned by Gopher to take up some postcards to
Oh,
Ray
to go up the
Bolger,
stairs, yeah.
just to go up the steps. What could happen, right? But when you're given postcards to the survivors of the Titanic, Vince went down all the stairs, never got a speaking part. I couldn't even find his name in the IMDb.
Poor Vince.
So, but I'm going Vince, R.I.P. Vince.
R.I.P. Vince. Next for me, I'm gonna go with Courtney Stubing as number 4, for sheer
Oh,
comedic, value and AM 5 AM ballet and the worst bartender you've ever seen in your life. Yeah,
worst bartender, worst pillow shover.
worst pillow shover.
Number 4 for me, gonna be that scab chef himself, Chef Borgia, Al Marinaro. Uh, Hilariously hated Stubing. Never really said why. Oh, it was ketchup, right? It was ketchup related.
Ketchup. Yeah, he put
Yeah,
ketchup on his food.
and he just fired ketchup into the sea. It was a great performance. Led to one of my favorite bits of the whole season when the crew had to pitch in and do the kitchen work. But yeah, Al Marinara was very good in
Fun episode.
his obvious role as a chef. So
Number 3 for me is Chef Antonio Borgia or
yep.
Borga. He was great. He was
Oh,
great, and
absolutely. No.
what a fun episode.
Yeah.
Even just, like, the snapshots from the episode are great, from them trying
Yeah.
to, him throwing the ketchup off the back of the ship or them cooking, just that was a fun, fun, fun episode. But, yeah,
It
he's
was
my
a
number 3.
that episode was a real like of the time like slapstick, right? Like the whole
Yes.
like we're gonna lie to these guys and they'll never run into each other and then they do. And just like it was just a simpler time. Again, we didn't have enough of that in the back half of the season.
No, I love that. It's that
Yeah.
snappy,
Yeah. Just like easy watch. We're not trying to land a plane here. Like just make
right.
it easy. It's a
Yeah,
little effort. I don't
I
like
agree.
my number 3 is the aforementioned Connie Evans, Joanne Harris as the conniving would-be cruise director. Like I said, big fan of her work in this episode.
I think conniving is a great way to describe her character.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean she listen, it almost worked. Really.
It almost did work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to my number 2 is Vegas nurse Dawn Delaney,
Oh.
episode 21. I just thought she brought something to the story.
Yeah.
They had a couple comedic moments, but she kind of outshined Doc, which
Oh, yeah.
so she brought a lot to the table. That and she was practically molested throughout the entire
Yeah.
episode while she was trying to deliver healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Good for her. She's got impending litigation. She
poor
was
Dawn
she was
Delaney.
the last cut on my top 5. So she lost
I
to
get
Vince,
that.
ironically, because she could have fixed Vince probably. My number 2,
Hmm.
the plumber poet himself, Frank
Oh,
Vallone.
Frankie.
I mean, really, when it came down to it, he did the most work of anyone on this boat.
Well, he was always getting, I get off work this time. I got to go
Right.
fix this.
Yeah.
He was working harder than the captain.
Yeah, he fixed the sink for Isaac. He got the ring out of the
That's right.
thing. I mean, he
He's
was
doing electrical things or
right,
plumbing things.
right, and let's not forget a poet.
He's writing
We had
sonnets
our
while
fun.
he's, yeah,
We had our fun, but now it's done.
but now
The
it's done.
bricks.
That's regular Bob Frost.
Yeah,
Poor guy.
I would say no. You were right last time. I would say there's almost no chance we don't have the same number 1. So
We have to have the same number 1. Is there a debate?
no, I mean
There's
this
no
is the
debate.
whole reason that it's really the whole reason the category exists. Honestly, so
I'm just going to go ahead and say I guarantee we have the same answer, and that answer, the winner, best part-time crew member, Stubby, goes to Steward Edward Teddy Anderson. I got worried for a second.
yeah, I mean
He,
just
come on.
flawless. I mean, even just thinking about how good he was in that was just like in a ridiculous role. If you think about it, Stewart is so
It was
stupid of
completely
a job.
ridiculous. Yeah, but he's just so good. He's so confident. He has such a presence that it was just,
Yeah,
I don't know. It was great.
like
Made it look so
we
easy.
spent most of that episode trying to figure out how to undead him so he could replace Stubing.
Oh,
That's
I
how
wish.
good he was.
Yeah, he was great. He really
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah, that's not even. I mean, I think that was maybe the easiest one of the whole thing, except the
Yeah.
animal.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was amazing. He was amazing.
Just a couple shout outs here for the other people that I had listed. We got the nameless chef, Romo Vincent, who was the guy who
That's funny.
that was it.
I love that.
Judy Canova was PJ Muldoon, which was
I thought about her too.
Stubby's
Yeah.
lady. And that was basically it. I also had the housekeeper from early in the season
Oh,
as an honorable
yeah.
mention. So,
That's
but yeah,
fine.
I think that was a pretty, like we said, this was a blowout voting, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
98% of the vote goes to Bob Crane here. So,
Rightly so.
all right.
This is a big award coming up next year.
This will be interesting because this really can go any which way. So this is best moment
It's
of the season.
favorite, right? Favorite
Yep,
individual moment of the season.
Favorite
Okay.
moment of the season individual moment can fall anywhere. Really, the definition is very loose. Three nominations, and again, it's favorite, so it can be whatever you think. I just for context, I kind of looked at it in more of the way of what am I going to remember the most, like as a specific scene. When I think back, these are the scenes that I kind of think of. Also, I wanted to make sure that things that just cracked me up at the time kind of got a little bit of shine here.
I
So,
agree.
number 3 for me, and this is best moment. This was when Stubing and Doc approached the daughter of Brian Sherwood when I thought that he was dead. The anticipation of like the 25 seconds when I thought they were going to tell her that her dad had died. That was my
That's
third favorite moment of the
fantastic.
season. So,
That's a good one. That's a really good one. For number 3 for me, I went with the painters, Vincent and Ronald.
yeah.
I can't even put my finger on what it just made me laugh. They're deadpan, just the whole just made me giggle. It was one of my favorite things. It's when I think about season 1, I'll think about, those two guests.
And one of our first switcheroos, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. Number 2 for me, I think I said it during the episode, and it still is funny to me. The hardest I have laughed in this show all season was when Mr. Humberton knocked on the door after Connie Evans got fired to try and get and hook up because originally when she was flirting with the guy, he's like, "I am married," and then later on he shows up at the door. Can I get that walk? So, old
Oh,
man
yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Humberton who knocked on the door. That is
That's
a
right.
very deep cut, but
I
that's the
forgot about
hardest I
that.
laughed all season was that. So, that's my number 2.
My number 2 is the moment we find out that Robert Tanner is actually the jewel thief.
Yep. That's my
Like,
number 1.
I
Yep,
was
absolutely.
surprised.
Yeah.
That's your
No,
number 1? I can't argue with
that's my
that,
number
yeah.
1, yeah. Because I remember at the time that episode is so hilarious because it's so boring.
Yeah.
His entire storyline is awful until the end, and then they nail you with a switcheroo, and I didn't think this show had the ability to do that. This was the first time I kinda knew that was possible. They
Yeah, that was
never they never replicated it, right? But so
no, no, but it was great. Just the surprise. Like,
yeah.
"Whoa, okay, that was awesome." I thought that was, one of my second favorite moment of the
Yeah, okay.
season.
So that was my first favorite, so I'll be curious to hear what your first favorite is.
My favorite, moment of the season was when Stubby is criticizing Stubing for not spending enough time on the bridge in episode 9. Nothing because we kept talking about it leading up to this episode. And then he said it, and I'm just like, "Thank you. Somebody, some acknowledgement that they're supposed to be on a ship." So it just makes me laugh, and is just great. And he changed the whole sort of rotation of the show, like you said, the last captain's dinner. Like
You really
now
did
Captain
screw
Stubing doesn't sit on the end. Like he took his best cook, from down below. It's a whole thing. Um, so that is but I can, that
It's a coin flip for me,
it's a coin
honestly.
flip. Well, I think
Yeah.
because it's favorite. We can
Yeah.
both have a favorite.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's see how worst goes, and then or least favorite moment, and then
All
we'll
right.
decide. Maybe we'll chop those up, and we can each pick one. So
All right. Is
worst
this me?
moment. Yeah.
Worst moment. Least favorite individual moment from season 1. Number 3 for me is Stubing cannot count to 6 in episode 11. Just completely implausible. Made no sense. It was so
6
dumb.
kids, 5 gifts is I still maintain we don't give out awards for our own shows, but I will say I have never laughed as hard as when we did the Christmas episode. That
It's
is
funny.
just so
That was
ridiculous.
funny. The episode was just insane. It was just
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it
really
was a
was.
funny episode.
It really was. I really hope. I hope they do a Christmas episode every year. I would assume they do. It's so
Oh,
easy.
I bet.
But like, it's gonna be hard to top that Christmas
Oh,
episode. That was
great.
amazing. My number 3 for worst moment was Captain Stubing and his downtown Abbey speech to his dad and PJ Muldoon that the help does not eat in the dining room, which basically caused a revolt that ended the captain's dinners.
Yeah.
So it was so
It's cringy.
bonkers. It was just weird to have that whole speech about she's retiring in like 15 minutes. It's your dad's girlfriend. Nobody cares about rules on this boat. And Stubing did the whole thing and then went back to apologize and didn't do a better job there either. So that was
And
my number 3.
he makes weird stands. He does
Yes.
weird like things like that.
Yeah,
From
he really
that
does.
to let me slip into something more comfortable and comes out in a tuxedo. Like
Yep.
he just does odd things.
Yeah, this is not always more comfortable. It looks damn good, but it's not
It
always
looks
more comfortable.
great. It looks
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is Dave King getting out of the pool in episode 6. It's self-explanatory.
It's for
Our
Jimmy.
guest Jimmy on the episode quoted him exiting. He described him exiting the pool as the most unhinged way to exit a pool.
Poor Tab Hunter.
Poor Tab Hunter.
My number 2 is a pretty recent one. It's Doc's quid pro quo for Dawn Delaney.
Yeah.
That was absolutely Doc. Doc had a very cringy episode, and maybe the most cringy episode of anybody. And
It was just gross.
it was absolutely awful. He did not get his comeuppance in that episode. We choose to believe he got his comeuppance in the next episode.
Yeah.
When he got punched in the face. So
Yeah.
but that's my number 2.
My number 1 was an easy one, Mike.
Yeah, probably.
My number 1 defied the laws of nature. It's when the male German Shepherd had puppies. Self-explanatory. Episode
All right.
9.
Now, I'm going to let you, before I tell you what my number 1 is, decide
Right.
which one you want to pick, because I'm taking the other one.
Okay.
Because I do feel like when I tell you what my number 1 is, you may change your mind.
Okay.
So before I reveal my number 1 worst, do you want the best moment to be the reveal of Robert Tanner, or what was your number 1 for that category for the best?
Stubing criticizing.
Right. Stubby crapping on Stubing. Do you want that one, or do you want the door number 2 here?
Door number 2. Well, I
Okay.
don't know.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. So you can you can have your pick of either, but you got to
Right.
decide before I reveal. So
I'll take door number 2, whatever that
Okay.
is. All right.
Okay. So, let's just say it. The best moment award will go to Mike Taylor's pick, which is Stubby yelling at Stubing.
Uh-huh.
That's the winner of that.
Okay.
And then worst moment.
See, now you got me. I'm racking my brain to think. Oh,
I
no.
am a full grown.
Oh, God. Oh.
Red-blooded.
No. No.
American woman.
No. Oh, God.
And I am looking for a full-blooded, full-grown, red-blooded.
That's the worst. Oh. Yeah, this all worked
I
out.
warned you. I warned you.
Oh,
You had your chance.
man.
So congratulations, Julie. You have won worst moment of season 1.
Jeez.
So,
I don't even know if worst really. Oh, God, that was an awful.
yeah. I
Oh.
am surprised that you did not vote for Jack Tripper getting molested by Steuben.
No. There were worse things that happened. Incredibly, there were worse things that happened. We were just getting started.
Yeah.
Oof. Okay. I'll just
All
say
right.
this: when we get into these best female,
Yeah.
this is our big heavy hitters right here, right? You got best
Oh, yeah.
female, best male, best regular cast member, like for whatever the performances were.
Yeah,
most outstanding.
these are
So
the
these
big ones.
are all right.
These are all no more joke
Yeah, we were
categories.
screwing around before, but
Yeah,
now let's get to it.
these are really the best of the best.
All right.
So best female performance. This is any female, all season, non main cast. Doesn't matter how old you are, so none of that nonsense.
Yep.
So we are nominating 5 here. So my 5th for best female performance is the aforementioned Pearl Bailey as Millie Washington. I have her as number 5 again, mainly for beating the snot out of Isaac, hooking up with that dentist, and also having that whole line about Harvey Wallbangers. So that's my number 5.
That's funny. My number 5 is PJ Muldoon from the Stubing Senior, episode 9. Thought she was great.
My number 4
Yeah.
is, I think this is the last time I nominated her, but I nominated her a lot. Joanne Harris as Connie Evans.
Yeah.
Like we've said before, she was just
She's
great
great.
up and down this whole time. So
I'm going with Regina Parker from the Plumber Poet, Jane
very
Curtin.
nice. Very
I
nice.
thought she was great.
Yep.
I really did. Thought she was great.
Yeah. Yeah. This category, this is not an easy category. There are a
No,
lot of people.
no, there's
like
some.
my honorable mention is long. So
Yeah.
my number 3 is she was just on one of our favorites, Marsha Wallace as O'Rourke in episode 22. Thought she was great. Held that whole episode together. Randomly had amazing like his girl Friday chemistry with
Yeah.
Gopher.
Yeah.
Like would watch that again totally. So
I have for my number 3, I have Millie Washington, Isaac's mom,
very
Pearl
nice.
Bailey.
Very nice.
Excuse me. Oh,
It's very disappointing, and I'm sure they weren't thinking about it this way because I don't think you know that your show's going to go 10 years, right? But it's like they shot their wad on these parents that are too big of stars
yeah.
to come back.
Yeah, you can't.
Like, I don't think Pro Bailey ever comes back. So now you're just not having Isaac's mom the rest of the time. Like, it's like
Yeah, it's a
Isaac's
shame
cousin, or,
to
it's
do
like
that.
they have plenty of room now with Gopher and Julie and,
Well,
yeah,
like Stubby could come back.
but he might be
Oh,
dead.
well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. He
No.
won't be back in '84. R.I.P. Stubby.
Oh, poor Phil. He'll always live on in the
That's right.
awards that were named
That's right.
after him. Plus, he got one, right? Didn't he win in a Stubby?
He did.
He just
He
won a
did.
Stubby.
We
He
just have
just won one.
we have to smelt the award in his,
I think he won
his
2.
bust. He did. He might not be done either. He might not be
Oh,
done.
man. He's going home with an armful of
I'm telling
awards.
you, no one saw this coming.
Number 2, best female. I'm going with Michelle Lee, specifically for her first performance as Denise, the bewildered housewife who swore her husband was trying to kill him. I think we said it during the episode. That could have gone a lot of different ways in terms of quality. And she played it perfectly. Just absolute, like, really thought she was going to die
Yeah.
on that boat many times. She was really good. The other 2 performances, I'm not even really considering for that. She was fine. But number 2 for Michelle Lee for me.
Okay. Number 2 for me is the Stacy Skogsdag.
Oh,
Going back to Stubing, I thought she
yeah.
was really good. She played a jerk, but she did a great job. She was very hateable, which she was supposed to be. So I put her as number 2 for me.
With that British accent. Number 1 for me is Diane Carroll as Roxy Blue. Just felt like that was the most memorable female performance we've had. We reference it all the time.
We do.
She sung, she acted like a star, like you believed she was a star when all those idiot
Yeah.
hanger-ons were running up around her. That did not feel like a character that existed a lot in 1978, like a female just trashing these men, but she played it great. No, was really good.
I will say that I do agree, because I tried to avoid too many repeats. I went with Marshall Wallace as my winner. However, I agree with what you're saying. I can't say, well, no, 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 Diane Carroll wasn't, because she really was the best female performance. I think what I tried to do, I think me trying to avoid dupes
Yeah,
has
but
affected it. But I stand
sometimes it
by
happens.
that's the
That's why
number
we're
one.
having.
That's why
That's
we
why we're
got
having the
two.
conversation. Right. Okay.
Yeah. But
So
I stand
we're
by
good.
that. Yeah, absolutely. She
Yeah.
should win.
All right. No,
Mhm.
and I like that because it's triggering us to have that conversation. Like, trust me,
Yeah.
there's a world where Marshall Wallace wins that no problem. But I do think if we look back in a few seasons and it's like Diane Carroll won 3 of
Right.
these, it makes sense, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, so
Exactly.
okay. So yeah, Diane
Uh,
Carroll wins best
that
female
confirmed.
performance
There we
for
go.
Roxy Blue.
Some A-listers coming on here. So next award, best male performance. Male performance by any non-regular cast member. Now, Mike, these are going to be heavy hitters. You know that,
Oh yeah. Oh, just the people I left off are heavy
right?
hitters.
I'm going to
I
start
will
with
say
number.
this. I will
Yeah,
say this. I think before we go, I have a surprise winner because
I
it
think I have a
surprised
surprise
me.
winner.
It surprised me. So
Number 5 for me is Mickey O'Day, best
that's
male
exactly where I
performance.
have him.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, he's fantastic.
The perfect number 5. The
Yeah,
absolute perfect number 5.
hmm
We've talked about it a lot. I mean, there are probably seasons where Tom Poston picks up some hardware, right? I mean, he was
oh, he was
really
great.
good in that
He was
episode.
great.
In addition to being the best wave shot, there's also the one when Julie shows up at the door and he does like, "Hey, hey,
Oh,
hey, go for it!"
yeah, and that's when she starts strutting in. That's when that
Yes,
whole awkward. I blame
that
that
20
awkward moment on
seconds of
Mickey O'Day.
insanity. Yeah.
Oh, fun. Okay, so no, my number 4 is Meryl Stubing Sr.,
Okay.
episode 9 at number
Yep.
4.
Yeah.
Who do you have for number 4?
Number 4, and it's funny because I think when we watched this, if we had known we were doing the awards, we may have penciled him in to win. But I think
Sure.
as we get further away from it, maybe not. I had John Ritter, um,
Interesting.
which was a great performance. Like we said, you could see the Jack Tripper in there.
Yep.
I just feel like as we got further away from it, there were people that did 2 things
Gotcha.
in episodes where John Ritter, that was a great comedic performance, but there wasn't a lot of like other stuff in there.
No, I
So
agree. I agree.
yeah.
My number 3 is Lenny Kamen, uh,
Oh, nice.
episode
Don Adams.
14. Yeah, love
Yeah.
Don Adams. That is my number 3. He was great.
Yeah, he was. He was. We kind of forget about him because that was like a middle of the
Well,
season.
there's just so much. It's
The
tough
monkey was
to.
in that episode. That was like, yeah. My number 3 is Will Gear as Bootherton. Like we
Gotcha.
said a couple times, he kind of did carry a weird
Mhm.
episode. So I think that's about as high as I would go for it, but I thought he was good, obviously. So
I agree. I agree. Number 2 for me is Dale Reinhardt / Riley, episode 2, for the same reasons that you said.
yep.
I think he set a bar, and maybe if he had been in later in the season after there had been some episodes, maybe that performance would have been different. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I
No.
think maybe he could have done even better.
Yeah.
Like,
No, this
he
is
set the bar early, and then it was, he was great.
there's no wrong answers with when we get to
No,
these guys. I mean, like
no,
as much as we have criticisms of the show and stuff, even the bad episodes have had good storylines, good performances in bad
absolutely.
storylines, like things like that. So
Right.
my number 2 is Bob Crane. Um,
Really.
I had a lot. I went back and forth between him and the guy I ended up picking for 1. Um, we already talked about it, how great Bob Crane was and all this stuff.
Mhm.
This was my one thing, kind of what you're saying about duplicates. This was my one thing where I was like, well, I already have him winning 1. I'd like to give this other guy
Fair enough, fair
a
enough.
crack. So
I went the opposite route on that. I went with Bob Crane.
yeah,
Um, I was reluctant to double up award winners, but, you know, you
no,
can't
and
right, the argument for him is there, you get it. I mean, he's gonna be in the conversation.
yeah,
So now I'm
and
dying
I
to know, who did you
okay.
pick?
So let me say, before
Yeah.
we get into this,
Mhm.
it should be Bob Crane should be the winner. I'm okay with that. I have him as
Okay.
number 2, and it was a coin flip. So Bob
But I'm
Crane,
okay if it's, if there's
I
somebody I'm not thinking of.
I don't think this is just so mine was Robert Reed from episode 3
Okay.
as
Okay.
Barney. And I think part of it for me was, first of all, that's a great performance. Our friend Jamie
He was.
points out, just, putting his clothes back on is just such a move. That was the first time we saw anybody do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you think about his arc in that thing, he's shooting skeet, he's hooking up with his ex-wife, he's
Yeah.
wearing that jacket, he's getting one-liners off like crazy.
He had a lot to say.
And it's the first of what I would say was not as many as I thought we'd see, people known for one thing playing completely against type.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
I
can
would
see
say
that.
it's probably the best version of it. That said, the winner should be Bob Crane because I had him at 2, and I really had him at 1.5, and you had him at 1. So I think that should be it. But I just wanted to make sure that Robert Reed got some credit because I think that's a
Absolutely.
really good one that we kind of forget because 3 is a weirdly forgettable episode,
It really is. It really
So,
is.
but
You know what I remember about 3? Whiskey
egg whites.
sour. That's what I
Yeah.
remember. Egg whites. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. No, it's true. But that whole Loretta Swit, like we didn't have a Lockhorns thing, and maybe we should have, and maybe
No.
we'll do it next year. But like that was as good a Lockhorns as we saw the whole
One
season.
100% agree with you
Yeah.
on that.
So, but
This is good.
congratulations to Bob Crane picking up
Congratulations.
multiple hardware. And the other thing is too, Robert Reed probably has a chance to win another one of these, but unfortunately, Teddy Anderson does not. So,
Yeah, he doesn't.
all right, this
This
one
is
might be some conversation.
okay.
So, best regular cast member. So
Yep.
this is basically ranking the 5 cast members 5-1 for their season 1 performance.
See, I I viewed
Okay.
it as the 5 best performances,
Okay.
meaning like in different episodes, but it'll still serve the same
We'll
thing.
we'll get
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
same spot
yeah,
probably,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I think we've talked about it a lot. The inconsistency during this season
Yeah,
was shocking. When I tried to do it my way of thinking, made it very hard. My guess is when you try to do it, it will show how different characters were from
yeah.
one to the other. So,
Exactly, exactly.
so, so my 5th is Stubing.
Right.
Um, just because of everything we've said. When we first started this, I think I just assumed he was the unquestioned star. Everything would kind of revolve around him. There were parts in the early part of the season where he was never even really part of it. And then when he is, sometimes he's a goof. Sometimes
Yeah.
he's like the leader of the Navy. Sometimes he tries to be a wise old sage. Like it's just there's no
No
consistency.
continuity at all. I agree. I agree. I had Stuving at number 5 for episode 10, The Strike, and I'm
Yeah,
saying that was the best of him,
best of Stubing. Yeah.
and that's kinda how
Yeah, it'll
but
be
yeah,
interesting to see. I feel like of everybody, that's the guy that they need to figure out.
they need to fix it, man. It's
It's
weird. Like, it's not
they
the
just gotta
right.
pick one at this point,
Yeah, yeah, it's too much. It's all over the place.
and I'm not even sure which one I'd pick. I think I'd pick stern, but fair.
Episode 1, Captain?
He was a little too uptight for that, though, because he is funny at certain things.
Well, he was probably uptight because frickin' Stacy Snodgrass was on the
Yeah,
boat.
yeah, but there's
Er
not like a you're right about 10. There's just not a
Is it?
great there's not a great Stubing episode where I can be like, "Yeah, he should be like that all the time." It's like
Right,
parts
he's
of it.
just
Right.
his principles are so fluid. It's just
Like
very strange.
like I said last week, the, end with him and Gopher when they rehired Gopher, I thought that was a nice moment. But,
I
like,
did
that
too.
wasn't a whole
I did too.
episode of that.
No, no,
It was
no, I agree.
like so. Number 4, I have Isaac, Ted Lang as Isaac, and I think we kinda thought that him and Gopher were kinda neck and neck for a while, and actually in the beginning of the season, Isaac had more storylines. But it's like if Isaac doesn't have a main story, they kind of don't use him. He just gets a couple bar scenes, and it's real. Like he doesn't get enough opportunity. This is not about him not being good. He's good in almost everything he does. He's just not in it enough.
The strange thing about Isaac is like he's at 4 for me as well. And I pointed out that Isaac the groupie is like his high point.
Right.
Like what you said, when they have something for him to do, he does it well. And it's interesting because going into the next season in the very first episode, which we'll talk a little bit about after the awards are over, it's an Isaac heavy episode again.
Okay.
So I just but just like you, I don't need Isaac heavy episodes. I just need more Isaac in the episodes.
Right.
Like you don't have to. So for me, right, there wasn't enough meat on the bone there. They didn't. There were some episodes where he maybe said 2 lines and didn't make a drink. It's
There's
just
no
weird.
reason. There's no because I think I said it early in the season. I thought he was going to be like the Jiminy Cricket kind of like bartender, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason why your bartender can't have a scene across all 3 storylines.
Right,
Like
right. No, I agree.
he should be the through line, really, for most
Yeah.
episodes. It's just the easiest. And it's just they don't even do that much.
No.
So,
No.
surprising. Number 3, and honestly, if this season had 2 or 3 more episodes, he might have moved up, is Fred Grandy as Gopher. Just a tremendous back half of the season.
I'm
Probably the MVP of the
100% with
back
you.
half. I mean,
I would
after
say so.
they didn't even use him that much in the
Mm-mm.
first half.
Nope.
And he's an example of how many actual storylines did Gopher have? He had the monkey.
The
He had
one with
East
the
Plum.
girl. Well, that wasn't even a full storyline.
No.
That was with
Right.
the
He had
girl with
like
half a face was the monkey.
right. And the French person. He had
The
3
French person.
storylines,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
I think. Like, but they put him in with O'Rourke. They put him in these little things. He makes the most of his stuff, and they did give him more stuff than they did Isaac. But I
I
thought
could
Gopher
even
was by far the best part of the second half of the season. Now, granted, the top people kind of fell back a little bit, but
it's funny because I could see him at 3, which is where I had him just like you did, but I could see him at 2 as well, just
mhm.
like you're saying.
Yeah,
Overall.
yeah.
I agree. No. We're in agreement 100% so far. These last 2 are going to be interesting though.
Okay. So this was tough,
Yeah.
and I think if we had voted 1/3 through the season, it would have been Julie.
Yeah.
And I think if we had voted 2/3 of the season, it would have been Doc.
Mhm.
I'm going with number 2 as Doc. And I am doing it for a couple reasons. One, the last few episodes just took me out of it completely. It was just a lecherousness that almost canceled out some of the Doc. Like
Well, there's no
we said it
humor in it. There was no
right.
humor in it. It was just
Exactly.
cringy. It was like I don't want to watch this. Like this is
The one
not.
the one character they nailed this whole season
Yeah.
was Doc as Dean Martin. Just doing takes to the camera, popping in. That ridiculous episode with the fake the Stockdales, right? Where he was a fake
Yeah.
ad exec and everything. And Doc just shows up and literally is doing at the
Teflon
camera.
Doc. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's the Doc I want. And I can even deal with problematic Doc to a point. But the last couple episodes where he was
But
just, I mean,
it
that was arrestable offenses that he was
yeah,
doing.
it definitely I really kind of echo what you're saying there. It just he undid a lot of the things that I enjoyed about his character. I was just
Yeah.
like too far, man. Like
Yeah.
too far. We were just trying to have fun here.
Right.
And you and you went and did this.
It
I
does it does give me hope for future seasons when I assume some sort of correction is made, right? That
imagine if it
Doc
gets worse.
it might get worse before it
Oh,
gets better. It
we don't
might.
know.
I mean, it's not like 1979 was a real puritanical time, it's like so
When
but
everything changed. Yeah,
I
yeah, no,
think
I
the thing
agree.
about the Doc character is they can always go back to what the stuff we liked, you know, but there were definitely a few episodes at the end that were just not they were not fun.
No, I agree. I agree. I 100% agree. So,
So that leaves Julie.
that
Julie is
leaves
number
Julie.
1. And I think that's fair in that, and I was thinking about this earlier. First of all, if you look back on the season, I think we would say Julie was the cast member that we talked the most about,
Mhm.
had the most opinions about, had the most feelings about, and that is part of this, right?
Right.
We wouldn't care as much about her downfall in the second half of the season if we didn't
No.
care about all the, I mean, we said it so much in the first third of the season, how she was the heart of the show and all that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Well, that's why she's the end.
Yeah.
That
No, exactly.
that's why, like, they
Yeah.
knew what they had, and,
Yeah.
it's interesting to see what's gonna happen in subsequent seasons, what that looks like.
Yeah. And the thing I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I hadn't really thought about was her being the only female. She ends up having to have a lot more of these wild swings
Yep.
because they can't dump it off onto a second character. Now,
No.
this daughter is not going to be that old. I guess she could take some of that stuff, but it's like we're still going to run into
Uh-huh.
this thing
Yeah,
where they can
it's
spread it out with the other people, right? Like so.
I
Um,
agree. It's a rough call, but, I mean, it is what it is. It's
I
just
care the
I can't
most
give it
about
to
Julie.
Doc. Yeah, I care the
I
most about
care the
Julie as
most
well.
about Julie. I mean,
Yeah, I
honestly,
agree.
like that's I'm still there, so
I'm with you 100%.
we kid, but yeah, I think that's the right answer. But it took some twists during the season for sure. So
Absolutely.
now who do you think without knowing anything gets it next season?
I think they right the ship with Doc next season.
Okay.
I really do. I think they're gonna lean on Doc. If it's Captain Stubing, nothing would be more shocking to me. You know
It
what,
almost
though?
it almost has to be, right?
It
Like
has to be. It has to be.
yeah. There are tweaks with the other characters. I feel like there's a full makeover that has to
Yeah,
happen with Steubing, especially if they're
unless
giving him a daughter.
unless it's Gopher. They lean on Gopher a bit more. I mean, he was
Yeah.
he was so good. We'll
So
see.
I don't think the daughter's on
Not
regular
yet.
next
Yeah, not yet.
season. So it'll still be these
We'll see what
5.
happens.
Yep.
The final Stubby Award category is Season 1 Most Outstanding Performer. Now, any male female is eligible, including main cast, for the MVP of the season. The Season 1 Heisman Stubby, if you
Yep.
will. Uh, my number 5 is going to go to Gladys Watkins, episode 20, played by Audrey Meadows.
Very good.
I just enjoy Audrey Meadows, and nobody plays that character
Oh, that's
better
true.
than it's her character. She
Yeah.
invented it.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I think we said at the time it's like having Barishnikov come to your school dance. It's just
It
like, I mean, it was just she
it,
just
it is,
rolled it out there. Yeah.
and she didn't have, she didn't have the most lines, but she was just, you know, head and shoulders better than anyone she was in the scene with. Like she just stood out to me.
Yep.
I had to mention her.
Number 5 for me, and I feel like I was gonna shove this in just because
Yeah.
I'm going with Julie at number 5. We
Okay.
literally just had the conversation, but I do feel like when you think back on season 1, she's the cast member that I would think of. And I bet, I mean, it kind of slowed down at the very end, but I bet she was in the most scenes
I think
in
so. I
season
think so.
2.
Like screen time, like per
Yeah,
cast. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So,
Absolutely.
and I mean, there's still a likability there. They did
Hmm.
nothing to make her unlikable. It was just more you hope that they give her like things that are a little more positive
Yeah.
in the next season. So
My number 4, I think, is going to be a bit of a surprise. Doug Ketchum, episode 18. Remember the blonde woman and her friend? He was the guy that spent time with the friend. That guy.
oh, right. Okay. It's like yes, it took me a minute. Yes. Mike
He was
Andrews
just
is sidekick.
Mike,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The good guy.
Yep.
He really, I just thought he had a great performance
Yep.
overall. But I didn't, not top 3, but
Yeah.
you can be top 5.
I think at this point everybody I've got has won an award today.
Yeah.
So this will be
I will say this: one of the people I'm going to say this is the first time he'll be mentioned.
Okay.
This episode.
My number 4 for the last time,
Yeah.
is Will Gear. Again, just
Can't argue. Yeah.
basically, we've talked about it a million times, but he literally died for that performance and was the only Emmy nomination ever on this show. So I'm
It's got to mean
going with
something.
Mr. Boothерton. And hey, he helped us learn about McKeesport.
Yeah.
Which
I
I
agree.
mean,
I learned a lot.
who can blame him? Yeah.
My number 3 is John Ballard, episode 4.
Oh,
Bill Bixby.
yeah.
I just enjoyed it. Thought it was odd that he hurt his knee and they gave him a wheelchair, but I'm not going to push it. I love Bill Bixby. I thought he was great in that episode. Top 3 performance in my book.
And that's probably the second best normal episode.
Yeah. I would say so.
I mean, we really enjoyed that one. For me, number 3 is Michelle Lee. This is in part because just of the gravity of doing 3 episodes. I do agree with your point that it's not like all 3 were great.
Right.
If she had one more really good performance, I think she gets this. The other 2 were fine. Plus she had to kiss Stubing. So,
Oof, poor lady. Yeah.
But that first one was great, and the other 2 were different enough that it didn't feel like you were watching Michelle Lee all three times. So
I agree.
I'll go with her.
I can get behind that. My number 2 is Teddy Anderson, again played by Bob Crane. We've talked about it. Multiple nominee this evening.
And that's also my number 2. That's my number 2 also is Bob Crane. He's already gotten 2 pieces of hardware, I believe.
Yeah.
So
my number 1 is Roxy Blue.
Yep, that's my number 1.
Episode 5. Really?
Yep. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, so
That's
we had the top 2.
interesting. Wow, I
That
didn't
makes
see
sense, though.
It
That feels right.
It does.
You
It
know.
feels right.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
It's funny too because there's part of me that's like, we said it in the absolute moment of watching the show, right? So are we remembering that we felt that way at the time and but no, because it's not like we say it about everything.
No, we don't. We don't.
The 2 people we really said were the best in the moment were those 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is proper reflection of it. And I think Diana Carroll gets a little bit extra because she sang, honestly.
She's a star. She's a star. I mean, she was great. Episode was great. She was great. Yeah.
Yep.
I feel good about that. I think it's a good representation of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Those are the stubbies for the season. That is,
we did it.
So I'm gonna try and run through here and recap all the winners. Best kid went to James Bond the Third as Theo Dennison. Best old went to Phil Silvers, Stubby with his first Stubby. Best animal went to Lucille the chimp. That was a bit of a blowout. Best musical performance went to Roxy Blue.
Yep.
So first of many for Diane Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
Best villain went to Buddy Stanfield.
Yep.
Best returning guest went to Michelle Lee.
Yep.
Best horn dog went to Penny Jacobs. She's definitely gonna be the most obscure actor that get one for a while.
Yeah,
would be my guess. Best episode 5. Worst episode 23. The worst went to Barry Keys.
Yep.
Best part-time crew member went to Bob Crane. Best moment went to the Stubby Senior dressing down Stubby Junior. The worst moment, full grown, red-blooded.
Oh, it's awful.
American Woman. Best female went to Diane Carroll as Roxy Blue. Best male went to Bob Crane as Teddy Anderson. Best full-time crew member went to Laura Hughes as Julie McCoy. And the season 1 MVP, that's Diane Carroll as Roxy Blue. Those are your season 1 Stubby winners.
Amazing. What
Great
a season
season.
it's been. What a season it's been.
Yeah, we
I feel
did
like it's
25 episodes. I did not count it up, but I'm assuming we came close to 50 hours of entertainment.
I would say
so,
so.
so
We made
you
some
could do.
Canadian friends this season.
That's right. Are we
Um,
checking the mailbag this episode or no?
oh yeah, we check the mailbag every
Okay,
episode.
just
So
making sure. So,
I'm sure we're going to hear from quite a few of our Canadian friends. I'm going to
so
thank you ahead
before,
of time for your emails.
bef-
Go ahead.
so I know you're going to talk about the first episode of season 2, but is there
Yeah.
anything? Is there any like one wild prediction that you have for season 2? Is there any like one thing you really want to see for season 2 that we didn't see in season 1? I
Hmm.
mean, to me, it's consistency, but that's not really what I'm thinking of. But it's like, um, what, 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 what crew family member would you want to meet?
Mm,
Are we going to get one of Doc's exes? That to me might be the biggest thing for season 2.
I think looking ahead to maybe one of Doc's exes, um, maybe more people from Captain Stubing's past, just to frame him a little more.
Yeah,
Maybe somebody positive from Julie's past, like that's not like some
the worst.
ex-married guy, like her
Yeah.
sister or something, like
Do you
something
think we'll
healthy.
get like a? Do you think we'll get another established significant other?
Mm,
The only one we had was Isaac, and that clearly didn't stick. But
I
that's the
feel like
only boyfriend girlfriend we've had referenced.
I feel like Gopher will for some reason.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an easy thing to do and then sort of forget about over the course of a few episodes. But I
I
think
just
that,
need like a recurring. Give me
yeah,
two. Give me
something you can
two
count
episodes
on.
with a girlfriend with
Absolutely.
Gopher. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Mike, plugs. Anything to plug, sir?
Yeah, Hidden Season Patreon. We got absolutely hammered every Wednesday. But talking about the Phillies, we're coming up on the Britain series, and what else we got in May and June? We got Reese Hoskins coming back in early
You
June. The Phillies are, you know, they're playing games, and I'm sure they are undefeated here in early May. 36-0.
36-0. Looking
Yeah,
good for the fighting Phils.
yeah. But anyway, just look at my Twitter; it's on there.
Awesome. Uh, Subscribe, download us wherever you find your audio podcast: iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play. Leave a review. We love reviews. You can find us on YouTube, Love Boat Project, Love Boat Project on Instagram. Look for our weekly reels, Love Boat Project on Facebook. And finally, our email address, the Loveboat Project at
That's why
gmail.com.
nobody sends emails; they don't know what it is.
Let me just try to read it again. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just not saying it correctly.
Yeah.
So it's the Loveboat Project at gmail.com.
There
So
we go.
now if there's no email, it's just because they didn't have the right.
But that'd be
Yeah.
great if there was an email for the awards. That would be great.
Oh, that would be great. Let's see
Yeah.
how many of our Canadian brethren have reached out.
Oh,
No mail. No email.
well, something
Uh,
there's your answer for what we want to see in season 2.
yeah, email. Uh, Sneak peek at the next episode, Mike. I took a look ahead, did not watch the episode. I learned a few valuable facts. Number one, two-parter. We already knew that. Number two, the return of Art Bear.
Oh,
That's happening.
right. Oh, that's a good way to start the season.
Number three, Isaac the passenger? Question mark. What?
What? Oh, come on.
Next.
Why?
Oh, wait. The crew is held captive on an island, and fake French with a perfect nose is back. Barbie Benton returns.
Oh, you love Barbie Benton's
She's great.
nose.
She's great. Perfect nose.
Plus, she won't be saddled with her friend, Louise
Ugh.
Bouvier, or whatever
Yeah.
her name was. So
Stubby nominee for best villain.
she was a
Go.
Stubby nominee. I need to, before next week, I need to write down all the official nominees. And by the way, if either of us listed you, you're a nominee.
Yes.
That's how I'm
Yes.
going to do it.
Absolutely.
So we'll
Absolutely.
be lousy with nominees. But
But that's all I have.
yeah, I don't know how we sign off for an award show.
I don't know.
You know what?
Wish
Let's
we
do
had some
this.
fake applause. Yeah.
Let's thank everybody for the first season. Like, we just finished
Oh,
the
I like
first
that.
season. This is the official end of season 1. We'll start up in season 2 on May 20th. But yeah, this was a really good first season. We really do appreciate everybody who's listened and watched, and well, not anybody who's emailed, but written reviews or told your friends or whatever. Want to thank all our guests. We had a lot of guests this season. And we hope to have all those guests back next season along with some new ones. Yeah, so that's a wrap on season 1.
Hey, just
Very
think, Mike.
successful. And Mike, I really appreciate it because I was only a guest the first week, and look at us now.
Look at us now. And
Yeah.
just think, we're like a ninth of the way there. Perfect.
Yeah, the 250 number. Well, originally we thought it was 263.
Right.
Now then we were down to 250. Then
Right.
we realized that IMDb breaks out the
The
two-parters.
twos and the
So
twos and yeah.
yeah, so I'm feeling like we're like, yeah, a ninth is probably correct.
All right.
The
I,
next
I, I,
8, yeah, they'll fly by.
I will have to say this was just a fun idea, and I'm glad it's turned out to be so much more than just a fun idea. And I'm
Yep.
glad to get to do go on these episodic deep dives with you. So, and I
Yeah,
look forward to season 2.
absolutely.
Well, well, until then, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Season 2, episode 1. Until then, have a great one.